Hey, who's that handsome guy? Emma's question caught both Ryan and their friend Patricia off guard even before they stepped through the backyard gate. Patricia followed Emma's gaze and spotted a friend of Luke. Emma's brother-in-law. Just a reminder, I'm standing right here. Ryan remarked to his wife, can't I appreciate a good-looking man? When I saw one, she shot back. Well, if you must, I'd rather you kept it to yourself. Ryan responded bluntly, then turned his attention to their host. Hi Dee, sorry about that. Patricia and her husband Mark were hosting an outdoor birthday party for their daughter, who had just turned 13. Patricia noticed them approaching but had yet to greet them, ignoring Emma's comment. She said, no worries, come on in. Holding the gate open for them, where should these go? Ryan asked, holding up a case of beer by the tree. There are coolers with ice. Some have soft drinks for the kids, but others are for the beer. Just find an empty one and go on that table over there, Patricia instructed, pointing Emma to a table with a nicely wrapped box. The co-host noticed them and came over. Hey, welcome you too, he said, kissing Emma on the cheek. Ryan, let me take that, he added, reaching for the case. Emma wasn't done yet. Hey Mark, who's the handsome guy sitting over there with your brother? Mark, unaware of the earlier conversation, looked where she pointed. Oh, that's Tom. He works construction with Luke. Why do you know him? No, but I wouldn't mind getting to know him, she replied a bit too eagerly. Hey, quite the hunk. Mark glanced at Ryan, puzzled, trying to lighten the mood. Joked, watch out, Ryan, sounds like she's on the hunt. Ryan forced a smile, trying to hide his surprise. Yeah, it looks like she's ready to trade me in for a newer model. Patricia playfully slapped Ryan's arm. Come on in, you guys. Mark, why don't you show Emma where to put the gifts? As Patricia saw the look on Mark's face, knew he wanted her to dig into Emma's behavior on the way to the gift table. She lowered her voice. All right. Emma, what's going on? Did you and Ryan have a fight? What are you talking about? Don't play dumb, we've known each other too long. You've never talked like that in front of Ryan before spilling it. I'm just giving him a taste of his own medicine. He flirts with every pretty girl he sees. You know Sarah Roberts, she saw Ryan in a restaurant a few days ago. He didn't see her, but she watched him flirt with a waitress who even kissed him. Emma, you know Ryan is friendly. That's just how he is. A girl kissing you is more than being friendly. Patty, that's crossing the line. Mark kissed you on the cheek a minute ago. That's different. We've known each other for years. This is some waitress he flirts with regularly. I don't like it, and it doesn't pass the wife test. Wife test? Yeah, you know guys use the husband test all the time. A wife shouldn't do anything she wouldn't do in front of her husband. Well, what's good for the goose? But did you have to do this at my daughter's birthday party? Don't worry, I won't do anything drastic. I wasn't even planning it until I saw Luke's friend over there. He's perfect to make Ryan jealous. Please. Just don't start any fights, okay? I promise no fights. Besides, that guy looks like he could crush Ryan. He'd be crazy to start something. Patricia sighed. All right. I see more guests arriving. I have to go. Remember, no fights, Patty. I swear. They glanced around and saw Elizabeth, the birthday girl, was chatting with friends. She decided to wish her a happy birthday. Ryan, having finished with the beer, had the same idea. They both arrived simultaneously. Congratulations, honey. You're officially a teenager now, and you can really give your parents a hard time. Emma joked. That goes for me too, Jen. Congratulations, but maybe ease up on the hard time part. Ryan added teasingly. Elizabeth laughed, knowing Ryan's playful nature. Thanks, she said, hugging Emma and kissing Ryan on the cheek. Are my friends Heather, Megan and Laura, whom she introduced after a brief chat. Emma was eager to continue her plan. Hey sweetie, she said to Elizabeth, I'm going to say hi to your uncle. Catch you later. Ryan was about to follow when Mark signaled to him. As Emma walked away, he called, behave yourself. She shot him a mischievous glance. Approaching Mark by the coolers, Ryan asked, what's up? Just a heads up. Patty, talk to Emma. She thinks you've been flirting with some waitress Emma found out and plans to teach you a lesson. I think that's what all this hunk talk is about. Ryan was baffled. I don't know what she's talking about. I haven't flirted with any waitress. Did she say where or who? Has no details, but she's planning to use Tom to make you jealous, so stay cool. All right. Meanwhile, Emma approached Luke and his friend. Hi Luke. Hey Emma, how's it going? Fine, I guess. Who's your friend? Luke caught off guard and let his friend introduce himself. Hi, I'm Tom. I guess you mean me. Who else? She replied. Hey Emma. Luke interrupted. Where's Ryan? He's over there with your brother. I'd love one of those, she said, pointing to the beer Tom holding Luke. Be a gentleman and get me a beer while we chat. Luke, not wanting to be rude, went to the coolers Tom offered. Emma took his seat, and she sat down. Noticing Ryan glaring at her, feeling her plan was working, she started chatting with Tom at the coolers. Luke approached Mark and Ryan. What's up with Emma? Why? Happened? Ryan asked Shek, getting cozy with Tom over there. Who's he? He works with me. We're on the high-rise project downtown. I've known him for 6 months. He's all right, but a bit of a ladies' man. No date? Ryan inquired. Nah, last-minute invite, was supposed to golf, but got cancelled. He complained about having nothing to do, so I brought him here. Ryan now understood Emma's game, but still didn't know how to deal with it. Ryan knew Emma well enough to realize that once she set her mind on something, she wouldn't relent until she made her point. Ignoring her might only encourage her more, but confronting her could lead to an unpleasant scene with Tom. He wanted to avoid that at all costs. Luke, do me a favor. Will you keep an eye on things and let me know if it starts to get out of hand? Ryan requested quietly. Luke nodded, grabbed a cold beer from the cooler, and returned to where Tom and Emma were chatting. Handing Emma her beer, Luke decided it was time to interrupt Ryan's photos of the lumberyard fire. They were incredible. Don't you think he might enter the press photographers contest again this year? Luke mentioned, hoping Tom would take the hint. Emma slightly annoyed replied politely yes, Ryan's planning to participate. She then turned to Tom and said, my husband is a photographer for the Tribune. He won several awards at last year's state contest. Tom responded with a slight sneer, acknowledging Ryan across the yard. So that's your husband? Emma confirmed yes, that's Ryan, her tone dismissive. Tom then shifted the conversation, talking about his love for working with his hands and building lasting structures. He directed a question to Luke, who agreed, hoping to steer the conversation away from Emma's husband, but Emma quickly resumed her chat with Tom effectively. Excluding Luke feeling out of place, Luke excused himself. Realizing his interference only gave Tom more opportunity, he headed off to wish his niece a happy birthday again. Ryan mingled with other guests all the while, keeping an eye on Emma and Tom. Although the men didn't comment on Emma's behavior, the women were buzzing with gossip. Ryan overheard Lizzie talking to her friends, mentioning that Emma's husband worked as a newspaper photographer and often found himself in risky situations. Lizzie expressed surprise that Ryan hadn't intervened. Ryan chuckled to himself. It wasn't his fault, it was Emma's antics. Despite his frustration, he would never resort to violence. He noticed an empty beer bottle next to Emma's chair and another one in her hand. She tended to drink more when nervous, which was worrying. Tom had 3 empty bottles beside him just then. Mark announced that the food was ready, breaking Ryan's thoughts. The aroma of grilled meat filled the air as Mark listed the options: burgers, brats, and chicken patties, along with various sides. Ryan saw a chance to separate Tom from Emma. Maybe they could talk privately and clear up this misunderstanding. As he turned to approach them, he saw Tom and Emma standing up, beers left behind. Tom, now more possessive, had taken Emma by the elbow. Not happening. Ryan muttered, quickly walked over. Excuse me, could you take your hand off my wife? He demanded. Tom immediately let go, raising his hands in surrender. Sorry man, we were just going to get some food, he said, half laughing. Yeah, well, I've got it from here. Ryan roared, taking Emma's arm and leading her to the food table. What's gotten into you? Emma snapped. That was incredibly rude. Ignoring her comment, Ryan directed her to the food line to grab some food. We need to talk by the shed. Seeing the confrontation, Luke seized the moment to talk to Tom about. Are you doing it? She's married to one of my brother's closest friends. Leave her alone. Hey man, she's the one hitting on me. I'm just being polite. Seriously, Tom, cut it out. She's using you. To get back at Ryan over some waitress. Stay out of it. Listen, I don't turn down beautiful women. I know she's genuinely interested. She's not. This is my niece's birthday party. I don't want trouble, all right? I'll back off if she come to me. I'll send her back to her husband if you don't. You're out of here, Tom. I mean, Scout's honor, Tom responded. Giving a mock salute. Now can I get something to eat? Yeah, go ahead, Emma. Wasn't too obsessed by Ryan's intervention. Tom had become overly familiar too quickly, and his suggestive comments were getting old. Ryan's firm grip on her arm indicated she had pushed him to his limit. She had promised Patricia no drama, and Ryan had shown he wasn't intimidated by Tom. She needed to spend the rest of the day with her husband. Hoping he had learned his lesson, they filled their plates, and Ryan led her to a quiet spot by the shed. Here, hold this while I get chairs. He said despite his anger, he remained courteous, setting up chairs for them to sit privately. After a few bites, Ryan couldn't hold back. What this about me flirting with a waitress? He asked bluntly. Emma, avoiding eye contact, said I heard you were seen flirting with a waitress last week. Ryan sarcastically replied, really, do you know who told you this? Does it matter? Someone saw you, Emma. I haven't flirted with any waitress. Either it's a mistake or someone's lying. I've only kissed you since we started dating. Emma looked into his eyes, trying to gauge his honesty. She usually felt she could read him, but this time she wasn't sure. Why would someone claim they saw you kissing a waitress if it wasn't true? Then I have no idea, Ryan said with a shrug. Taking another bite of his burger. Since it's your friend, why don't you just ask her? How do you know? It's a woman. Emma questioned. It better be a woman. If a guy told you he saw me kissing a waitress, then you've got your answer. Emma initially thought Ryan might have seen her friend in the restaurant and kissed the waitress anyway, ignoring the consequences, but she was puzzled by his last statement. What do you mean if it's a man? I've answered my own question. Simple. If it's a man, he's probably into you and trying to cause trouble between us. He might be trying to cozy up to you by pretending to be a supportive friend. That's ridiculous. Think about it. Was it a man? No. All right, then we're back to square one. You'll need to ask your friend why she's making this up. An uneasy silence settled over them as they finished their meals. When they were done, Ryan had a few parting words. This is Liz's birthday party, and I won't let it be ruined by a fight with your friend. So if you keep cozying up to him like you have been, I'll just leave you here, and you can find your own way home, or you can spend the night with Mr. Muscles, but then you won't have a home to come back to. Understand? Emma was taken aback by his intensity. Ryan calmed down. I'm not going home with Tom. I wasn't even considering it. I just wanted you to understand how it feels to see your spouse flirting with someone else. That's all. Well, now you've made your point, so let's end it here. Ryan stood up and took his wife's paper plate and empty beer bottle and walked over to dispose of them. When he turned back, he was relieved to see Emma right by his side. Tom, however, was visibly irritated. He had been stealing glances at Emma and Ryan while sitting alone eating his chicken patty. He had no doubt Emma was genuinely interested. Seemed eager for attention. He had hoped for a chance to slip away with her, perhaps to an upstairs bedroom or his car, but now those plans were foiled. They were being watched, and he'd have to bide his time. Despite the underlying tension, Ryan and Emma were determined to enjoy the rest of the party. Emma stayed close to Ryan, spent the remainder of the day occasionally drifting off to chat with friends, but always returning to his side. The only other interaction Emma had with Tom was during the group singing of Happy Birthday when everyone gathered around Liz's cake. Tom took the opportunity to sit up beside her and discreetly touch her backside while everyone sang. Initially, she thought it was Ryan, but when she glanced over she saw Tom with a smug grin. She was shocked by his audacity, quickly checking for any observers. So everyone focused on Lizzie. Normally she would have slapped him, but she knew it would only create more trouble. Something she desperately wanted to avoid, and besides, she realized it was partly her own fault for encouraging him. If given the chance she'd apologize and make it clear she wasn't interested. Tom withdrew his hand to join the applause. As the birthday girl blew out the candles, Ryan glanced over when he heard Tom's voice nearby but saw nothing significant. Emma wasn't about to confess to Ryan about Tom's inappropriate behavior during Happy Birthday. Naturally, Tom interpreted her silence as consent. He knew how to manipulate the situation, and she had to stay close to her husband to avoid suspicion, but eventually she would need to slip away to use the restroom indoors. Hopefully he could catch her alone to arrange a meeting. He kept a discreet watch for those aware of the earlier incident. The perceived threat seemed to have passed much to their relief, and both Tom and Emma seemed to be on their best behavior with the possible exception of Ryan. Everyone relaxed and let down their guard. Ryan, however, had encountered guys like Tom before, men who thought they were irresistible to women and knew they were rarely dissuaded easily. Just to be cautious, he resolved to continue keeping an eye on the potential troublemaker. The party kicked into high gear. After dinner, Mark turned up the outdoor speakers and played background music from Pandora games set up. With a dartboard placed on the large oak tree near the shed, and Liz's friends helped set up the bin bag toss, some women gathered at card tables for bingo. Lizzie and her friends suggested a best-of-3 beanbag game to their parents. Ryan and Emma joined in despite Mark warning them about Liz's skill. Fortunately, the adults won the first game, but the subsequent victories went to the youngsters. After the game, Emma kissed Ryan on the cheek and informed him that she needed to use the restroom and would return shortly. Ryan replied that he might challenge Luke to a game of darts. Emma chatted with friends on her way to the house and was lucky to find the downstairs restroom unoccupied. Luke noticed Tom's departure and muttered to himself, catching Ryan's attention mid-throw. "What up?" Ryan asked Tom, who seems to be leaving without saying goodbye or thanking anyone for the invite. Luke clarified. Ryan turned and saw Tom exiting through the gate. He's probably upset because Emma isn't paying him attention anymore. He likely had plans with her, Ryan suggested. Luke agreed, noting his knack for charming women and recounting instances where he had seen Tom leave bars with attractive women. Ryan turned back to the dartboard, aiming carefully, when a thought struck him. How would someone enter the house without being seen? He wondered. They'd leave through the gate, circle around to the front and enter that way. Handing the darts to Luke, Ryan, who mentioned "I'll be right back," and headed toward the back door. Emma finished her business and was touching up her makeup when she opened the bathroom door and was stunned to find Tom standing there before she could react. He seized her shoulders and pinned her against the door frame, forcefully kissing her. Had Ryan been a split second later, he would have witnessed his wife shoving Tom away. As it happened, she hesitated, trying to regain her senses. In that moment, Ryan saw them grabbed Tom's shoulder, pulling him away from Emma, and with a forceful punch to Tom's solar plexus sent him stumbling back into the washroom, collapsing to one knee and gasping for breath. Emma, overwhelmed by the rapid events, she struggled to process what had just happened and turned to find her husband. But he was gone. Panicked, she searched the house, calling out for Ryan, but was nowhere to be seen. Then she heard the sound of a car starting to rush to the front door. Emma watched as their car backed out and drove off. She realized how the situation must have looked, especially given her previous interactions with Tom. Ignoring Tom, who was still gasping for breath, she dashed out the back door. The first person she encountered was Luke, still waiting for Ryan's return and unaware of the unfolding drama. "Luke, you have to drive me home," she pleaded, desperation in her voice. "Please, Luke, I need your help." Emma's voice quivered with desperation. Luke, clearly confused, tried to piece together what had happened. "Emma, what's going on? Where's Ryan?" "He left, and he caught Tom kissing me," she blurted out. "And Tom, is he okay?" "He's still in the house. Not sure if he's hurt, but Ryan punched him really hard." Luke couldn't suppress a grin. "Ryan punched Tom really?" "Yes. Luke, please. I need to get home and explain everything to Ryan. He was so furious. I'm afraid he's going to leave me." "Looking, Emma. I know he's upset, but I doubt he's going to leave you over this. You didn't see him." "Luke, I'm blocked in, and I can't get my car out. Please. You have to help me, all right? Let me tell Mark we're leaving and I'll see what I can do." Luke returned after a brief conversation with Mark. "Emma, you'll have to call a cab. I can't get my car out, but you can take mine." "Are you serious?" "Thank you so much," Emma said. Relief washing over her, she climbed into Luke's car, determined to reach Ryan before it was too late. Luke carefully maneuvered his car out of the tight spot, navigating around the other parked vehicles with precision throughout the drive. Emma was lost in thought, replaying the events in her mind. Ryan's anger had been intense, unlike anything she had ever seen. His physical reaction was unprecedented, and it scared her. As they neared her home, anxiety gnawed at her. She dared the confrontation awaiting her. Luke parked behind Ryan's car in the driveway. He offered to go inside with her, but Emma declined, insisting she needed to handle this on her own. Thanked him, then stepped out of the car and headed up the porch steps, each step filled with dread. Inside she braced herself for what she might find. Ryan was nowhere in sight. She feared he might be upstairs packing his things just as she began to ascend the stairs. She heard the sound of the coffee grinder from the kitchen, and a flicker of hope ignited within her. Ryan standing in the kitchen doorway broke the silence. "Did your lover drive you home?" he asked icily. "Ryan, Tom was not my lover the last time I saw him." Still on the bathroom floor trying to catch his breath, Emma explained. Ryan nodded but said nothing in his silence. Unnerving her, she had expected a reaction, whether anger or embarrassment, since Ryan seemed unwilling to speak. Emma decided to explain. "He caught me off guard. Ryan, I wasn't participating. Ambushed me as soon as I opened the door, pushing me against it and kissing me. Didn't see you resisting him." Ryan replied. "You intervened before I could react. I was stunned. It took me a moment to process what was happening, but you punched him before I could push him away." Emma insisted. Ryan remained focused on making coffee. His lack of response was making Emma uneasy. She wished he would express his anger openly. His calmness was more disconcerting. "Well," she prompted. "Well, what?" he said, hitting the start button on the coffee maker. "Ryan, I've never seen you this angry before. I honestly thought you'd be packing your bags when I got home." "Don't tempt me," he growled, his voice rising. "You're damn right, I'm angry about that. The stunt you pulled was immature and disrespectful. The only reason I'm not more upset is that most people at the party knew what you were doing. But you know what really infuriates me? You trusted one of your shallow friends over. Have I ever lied to you? Have I ever given you a reason to doubt me?" "No, never." Emma admitted she had never heard him refer to her friends as shallow before, but decided not to address it. "Honey, know how outgoing you are. You make friends easily, even with women. You may not realize it, but I've seen the way they look at you when you walk away. I know they drop their inhibitions in an instant." "Oh, come on, you're making me sound like some sort of heartthrob," Ryan said, clearly frustrated. "Ryan, all I'm saying is that you have a charming personality. People are drawn to you. I just want you to understand that some women might think you're available, married or not." Emma explained, hoping to ease the tension. "So how does that justify you believing I go around kissing waitresses and trusting your friend over me?" Ryan's voice was filled with hurt. Damn, Emma thought she had hoped to avoid this confrontation. Their argument dragged on for another 20 minutes, neither willing to budge on the issue of trust. Despite their disagreement, they didn't sleep in separate rooms or on the couch, but intimacy was out of the question. Ryan wasn't in a forgiving mood, and Emma wasn't ready to go. The following Tuesday, Ryan met Mark for a drink after work. Ryan was already at the bar sipping his beer when Mark arrived with a wide grin. "Yo, Rocky, how's Adrian?" Mark joked. Trying to imitate Stallone, Ryan gave him a look. "Isn't Rocky the one who talks like that?" "Yeah, but I can't do a Burgess Meredith impression, so you get what you get." Mark chuckled, sitting down and ordering a beer. "Seriously, how are things between you two? We're barely talking. I'm still mad, and she knows it, so she keeps her distance." Ryan admitted. "When are you going to cut her some slack? Most people at the party didn't even notice anything was wrong. After you left, folks were asking about you and Emma." "What did you say?" "I told them something came up and we had to leave. Nobody questioned it. Probably thought we wanted to get home early." Mark laughed. "Well, there hasn't been much of that since the party," Ryan said grimly. "What's the deal with Tom? Is he planning revenge?" "I doubt it. Luke told me what happened after he drove Emma home. When I went back inside, Tom was just getting up, and he said I sucker punched him," Ryan explained. "You sure did." Mark laughed. "He was talking about getting back at you, but I warned him to stay. I told him you're tough and not someone to mess with. I even quoted the Bible." "You quoted the Bible?" Ryan asked, surprised. "Yeah, though he walks through the valley of the shadow of death, he fears no evil, for he's the toughest and meanest Mark said with a grin in the valley. That's you, Mark said with a smirk. Ryan couldn't help but laugh. That's nonsense, and you know it. Of course I know it, and you know it, but Tom doesn't. I think I scared him enough to make him think twice before messing with you. Well, I appreciate that, but they both grinned and took another sip of their drinks. You know what really annoys me? Ryan began. That Emma doesn't believe me about not kissing some waitress. Are you absolutely sure you didn't? Maybe just a peck on the cheek or something like that, Mark probed, and Ryan trailed off a sudden memory. Crossing his face, Mark noticed the change. You did kiss her, didn't you? No, she kissed me. Ryan responded, damn, I know what this is all about. The following day, Emma was surprised to see Ryan walk into her office. He immediately informed her that he was taking her to lunch. Assuming it was his way of apologizing, she expressed gratitude but mentioned it was a bit early and asked if he could wait about 20 minutes. Ryan reassured her, saying there was no need to wait as he had already spoken to her. The boss explained it as a minor family emergency and arranged for an extended lunch. Reluctantly, Emma followed him to the car, feeling apprehensive as she wasn't aware of any family emergencies. As she got in, Ryan held the door for her, and she questioned him about their destination and the nature of the emergency, but he simply instructed her to call her friend and get the name of the restaurant where the alleged incident occurred. When she asked why, he told her to trust him, saying he believed he had figured something out. Emma called her friend and obtained the restaurant's name, Doctors on Haman Avenue. Ryan responded with a smile, commenting on the coincidence that they were headed exactly there. Emma remained silent. Feeling increasingly uneasy, she couldn't fathom why he would want to revisit the scene except perhaps to confront her. Would he flirt with the waitress in front of her? She knew he wouldn't do that, so she decided to wait and see what unfolded. The journey to the restaurant took nearly half an hour, during which Emma agonized over numerous scenarios. She was almost in tears when they arrived. Ryan placed his hand on her back and guided her inside, sensing trouble as soon as they walked in. Damn, she muttered quietly. Ryan found a booth and had Emma sit first, then join her. Well, it looks like you brought your better half today. The waitress was greeted with friendly smile. Emma blushed with embarrassment. Hi Nancy. Hi Emma, how did you manage to get my cousin here for a real lunch and with his wife, no less? Every time I see him, he's in such a hurry, he can barely eat. She joked. Ryan wasn't about to let Emma off easily. Emma said seems to think you and I are having a passionate affair, he announced. Emma waited for the punchline before responding. No, Nancy, that's not true, she protested, turning to her husband. Ryan, come on, I made a mistake. I apologize. She faced Nancy again. A friend told me last week that he kissed a waitress here. I didn't even know you worked here, but we haven't. Interrupted. Last week, you gave me a peck on the cheek when I arrived. Oh gosh, Emma, I didn't mean anything by it. Ryan hadn't visited in a while, and it was just a friendly gesture. Nancy explained. Nancy, don't worry about it. Emma assured her. I understand now. My friend misled me into thinking Ryan had a thing with a waitress here. I'll be giving her a piece of my mind later. I'd like to hear that. Ryan challenged. Emma looked at him and accepted the challenge. All right, she said, retrieving her phone from her purse. That both Ryan and Nancy listened in on Emma's side of the conversation. Hi Sarah, not too good. You know that waitress you said was kissing Ryan? You know who that was? That was Ryan's cousin. Yeah, his cousin. I didn't appreciate you telling me. You made it sound like he was having an affair or something. I don't care what. You thought I didn't care if you think you see him screwing somebody in the middle of the floor from now on. You're gossip to yourself. Yeah, you too. She nearly broke her phone in frustration as she disconnected the call. Ryan had suspected Sarah was the one stirring up trouble. She frequently made derogatory remarks about her own husband. Emma was clearly agitated after the call. I truly apologize to both of you. Ryan was right. I should have known better. You have a few more apologies to make when you get home tonight. Ryan reminded her. You're going to apologize to Mark, Patricia and Lizzie, and what about Tom? She asked you to tell Tom to take a hike. Pursues a married woman no matter how much of a flirt she is, Ryan said firmly. Nancy, still standing nearby, asked who's Tom, her boyfriend. Ryan joked. Boyfriend, she questioned, don't listen to him. Nancy, I made a mistake, and he's not done rubbing my nose in it yet. Emma replied, "It sounds like you two had quite a weekend." Nancy observed, "Let's just say I'm pretty sure Emma learned a lesson about trust." Ryan replied. Emma was more than a little embarrassed, her face flushed as she opened the menu. "So Nancy, what do you recommend?" Later that evening Emma spent almost an hour on the phone apologizing to their friends, including Lizzie. That night as they lay in bed, Emma turned to Ryan, "Are you still mad?" "It depends on what he said and what she asked about whether you still think I would cheat on you." Ryan replied, "I never really believed you cheated on me. I was worried you might give some woman the wrong impression. I just didn't want you leading her on." She explained. He considered her words and remembered how angry he felt watching her flirt with Tom. He'd never admit it, but he did understand her perspective. Bit better now. Just as he was about to tell her he forgave her, he felt her hand slide down his body and start tickling his balls. "Come on, honey, you can't stay mad at me," she coaxed. He decided he might not tell her he forgave her just yet. Her fingers gently wrapped around his manhood and slowly started stroking it up and down. Within seconds, he felt himself getting hard. Ryan closed his eyes and let out a small sigh as her long, red hair teased his skin. The loving touch of her lips sent shivers down his spine as she kissed the head of fully engorged friend. "Oh God," he groaned. She already knew she was forgiven, but Emma wanted to take it to the limit. She swung one leg over his torso and guided him inside her. She closed her eyes as she leaned forward, resting her hands on his tight abs as she moved back and forth, driving him deeper and deeper. "Babe, I'm not going to last long." He groaned. "At me either," she replied moments later. She threw her head back as her body stiffened. That was Ryan's cue, and it was right on time as they both surrendered to intense pleasure. A month later Emma and Patricia were having lunch together. "You and Ryan seem to be getting along well. Does he still flirt with waitresses?" "Not as much as," Emma replied. "He's still friendly. Self and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love that about him, but he does seem to pull back now and then." "That's all you really wanted, isn't it?" "Exactly." Patricia couldn't resist asking, "So have you heard from Tom lately?" "No, and I'm a little insulted to tell you the truth. One punch, and he just disappears." The wimp. They both laughed at that.